Japan doesn't do normal game shows. You won't just answer trivia, you'll dodge boulders, bite furniture, or get dropped into a pit for messing up a riddle. It sounds insane, but there's a reason it works. Let's break down why Japan makes the wildest and weirdly most brilliant game shows on earth. If there's one show that defines Japan's absurd game show legacy, it's Takeshi's Castle. And if you've never seen it, imagine 100 people in matching jumpsuits charging headfirst into giant foam-covered traps for no real reason. While a man in a warlord cosplay laughs from a castle balcony, that's the whole show. Takeshi's Castle aired from 1986 to 1990 and became a cultural phenomenon in Japan before gaining international cult status years later. It's part obstacle course, part slapstick theater, part fever dream. Each episode begins with a group of contestants, usually around 100, who are thrown into a gauntlet of physical challenges. They sprint across stepping stones, crawl through mud pits, and try not to get knocked off platforms by giant foam battering rams. It all builds towards a final showdown at Takeshi's Castle, where a select few, sometimes none, attempt to defeat the boss, played by actor/director Takeshi himself, using bizarre vehicles or oversized laser guns. The genius of the show wasn't just how wild it looked, it's how structured it actually is. Because underneath all the screaming, slipping, and flying into moats, Takeshi's Castle follows a clear, logical game design. Each challenge is based on simple rules. Cross this bridge without falling, find the correct door, avoid the guards, reach the castle. It's a pure test of luck, reflexes, and resilience. No trivia, no alliances, no strategy, just survive the nonsense. And while the stunts look dangerous, they're deceptively safe. Most props are made of soft materials, the impact is carefully controlled, and the show rarely showed anyone actually hurt. You might get flung off a rotating log into a pool of water, but it's all padded and rehearsed. The editing makes it feel more brutal than it is, complete with slow motion wipeouts, dramatic sound effects, and instant replays of the biggest crashes. But what really makes Takeshi's Castle special is its tone. There's no smug host, no dramatic music, no rags to riches backstory. Instead, you get absurd commentary, comedy sketches between rounds, and the full embrace of the show's ridiculousness. Even the guards who chase contestants in certain games are often comedians in costume, playing it up, falling down, and breaking character for laughs. It's less about winning and more about watching people fail in the funniest way possible, and yet everyone's still trying. That's the magic. No matter how silly the task is, the contestant gives it their all. They leap into muddy pits, they sprint full speed at what might be a fake door, they brace themselves against rubber boulders, and the audience roots for them, not because the prize is life-changing, because it's usually not, but because it's relatable. We've all tried something dumb and failed spectacularly. Takeshi's Castle just makes that in the entire plot of the show. When the show ended in 1990, it didn't fade, it evolved. A version of it aired in the US as MXC, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, with new voiceovers, ridiculous dubbing, and zero connection to the original plot, and people loved it. Even in translation, the formula held up. Let people fail. The format was so strong that it inspired countless spin-offs and spiritual successors, like Wipeout, Ninja Warrior, and even reality competitions like The Floor is Lava. But none of these ever quite captured the original energy, because Takeshi's Castle wasn't just a game, it was the party. The cast was in on the joke, the audience was in on the joke, and the contestants, they became the joke, but in a way that was weirdly respectful. They weren't mocked, they were celebrated for taking the hit. And in a media landscape where failure is often edited out, Takeshi's Castle made it the star of the show. And that's why it worked. That's why people remembered it. And that's why it still feels fresh nearly 40 years later. Because whether you're falling off a phone boulder or biting off a chocolate doorknob, we'll get there, there's something timeless about watching humans fight chaos and laugh through it. If you were told you'd be on a game show where your main job was to bite a doorknob, you'd probably think it was a prank. But not only is that a real game, it's a popular one. It's called Candy or Not Candy. And yes, the entire premise is exactly what it sounds like. Contestants walk onto a brightly colored set filled with everyday objects, furniture, fixtures, decorations, a table leg, a shoe, a picture frame, maybe even a door handle. It all looks completely normal, which is exactly the problem, because some of these objects are secretly made out of candy. The contestant's job? Pick one item, walk up to it, and bite it. The object crumbles like sugar glass, and the studio erupts in cheers. If they're wrong, well, they just sank their teeth into a real object, and now they've got a bruised ego and probably a chipped molar. That's the entire game, and yet somehow, it's so good. Because Candy or Not Candy is one of those rare formats that's both ridiculously dumb and surprisingly brilliant. It turns something primal, the curiosity to test what's real, into entertainment. We've all seen something so perfectly shiny or fake looking that we thought, this has to be plastic, right? Now imagine being handed the chance to test that theory on national television. The best part? The craftsmanship is insane. The edible objects are handcrafted by expert candy sculptors, usually using materials like sugar glass, chocolate, or hardened fondue. And they're good, like disturbingly realistic. There's one famous clip where a man walks up to a wooden coffee table, stares at it for a second, and suddenly chomps down on the corner. The table leg snaps under his teeth, revealing it's actually made out of chocolate. The audience loses it. He pumps his fist in victory, chewing with pure joy. Moments like this are why the show works. It's simple, visual, and absurd in the best way. You don't need to speak Japanese to understand what's happening, which is why this segment blew up internationally. When clips started circulating online, people everywhere were obsessed. Reddit threads, reaction compilations, even parodies. This is the kind of game that transcends language and logic because the concept is so universal. What if I could eat that chair? But there's more to this format than people just biting lamps. There's tension, because the longer the contestant takes to decide, the more the suspense builds. They're circling the room, tapping objects, staring at surfaces, doubting their own judgment. And when they finally make their move, whether they're right or wrong, the payoff always lands. It's a visual punchline. Bite, crunch, victory. Or bite, clunk, regret. Even the presentation plays into the comedy. There's often dramatic music. The host acts like it's a high-stakes decision. Sometimes they even bring out multiple contestants and force them to compete, taking turns biting until someone gets it right, or breaks their teeth trying. And again, this isn't a low-budget show. There are professional sets, lights, effects, and costumes. This isn't filmed in someone's garage. It's a broadcast on Japanese primetime television. Why? Because in Japan, variety shows are meant to be chaotic, experimental, and weirdly elegant in their structure. The challenge can be absurd, but the format is always tight. Rules are clear, stakes are defined. The audience knows what success looks like, and that clarity makes the weirdness easier to buy into. Also, fun fact, this isn't the only food identification game in Japan. There's a whole genre of batsu games, punishment games, where contestants are forced to do strange things for laughs. Biting into random furniture is basically the tame version. But Candy or Not Candy stands out because it's not about embarrassment. It's about observation, deduction, and the chance to turn that knowledge into the most satisfying bite of your life. And when someone guesses wrong, it's not humiliating, it's hilarious. The host reacts, the crowd laughs, and the contestant usually plays along, rubbing their jaw while nodding like, yeah, that's fair. It's goofy, it's harmless, and it's completely unforgettable. Because deep down, we all kind of want to bite a doorknob. We just needed a game show to give us permission. Imagine being locked in a room, and you're given a puzzle to solve. And while you're thinking, the walls start closing in, the floor drops out from beneath you, water starts filling the room, and a buzzer's counting down your life. Welcome to DERO, one of Japan's most intense and genuinely terrifying game shows. The show aired on Nippon TV and quickly earned a reputation as Japan's most theatrical game show, because while most game shows test your knowledge, DERO tests your ability to stay calm while your surroundings actively try to murder you, or at least give you a panic attack. Here's how it works. Contestants are placed in elaborate escape room style chambers. Each room has a physical gimmick, a trap designed to put maximum pressure on the players while they attempt to solve trivia or solve word puzzles. Sounds harmless, right? Until you see what maximum pressure actually means. In one iconic challenge, 4 contestants stand on narrow ledges suspended over a pit. Answer a question wrong, the floor retracts a little more. Hesitate too long, your space gets even smaller. Fall, you're eliminated. In another challenge, you're strapped into a tiny cell while water steadily rises. Solve the puzzles and escape, or don't and get dunked. And then there's this room that literally caves in. The walls closing tighter and tighter as you scramble to find the right answer. The more you panic, the worse it gets. And it gets bad. There are even rope pulling segments where you're being dragged backwards towards a trap unless you solve a riddle in time. It's part quiz show, part booby trap dungeon, part psychological torture chamber, and yet, it's amazing. Why? Because DERO understands something most shows don't. Watching someone solve a crossword is boring. Watch someone solve a crossword while water is rising past their waist and dramatic music blares like they're in Mission Impossible? That's TV gold. The show is shot like an action movie, dynamic lighting, cinematic camera angles, close up on faces drenched in sweat. You don't just watch people compete, you feel like you're watching them survive. And the stakes? Still just game show prizes, usually cash or bragging rights. Nobody's winning a mansion, they're just trying not to fall through a trapdoor while answering spelling questions. But that's what makes it brilliant, because the prizes don't matter, the struggle is the entertainment. And to be clear, DERO isn't just chaos for chaos's sake. It's incredibly well designed. Every room has a clear structure, the puzzles are fair, the physical traps are safe despite how terrifying they look, contestants wear safety gear when needed, there are harnesses and padded falls. No one's getting hurt, but they think they might, and that's enough to make the tension feel real. Even the hosts play it straight. No laughing, no commentary, that breaks the illusion. Just deadpan narration as someone inches towards doom because they forgot a kanji reading. And that's the real genius, because DERO treats its absurd premise with complete seriousness, and that makes it even funnier. Western game shows usually separate physical and mental challenges. You're either climbing a wall or answering trivia, but DERO smashes the two together in the most high-stress way possible. Answering a basic question becomes 10 times harder when you're sliding into a pit or while being dragged towards what looks like you're doomed. It's designed to fluster you, to strip away your cool, to turn even smart contestants into panicked messes. And viewers love it, because we relate to the panic. We imagine ourselves in that room and we think, I could do that. And then we watch someone completely blank on a 3rd grade question while dangling over a void, and we realize, maybe not. DERO is part game show, part stress simulator, part comedy, and somehow it nails all 3. It doesn't just make you laugh, it makes you tense. And when someone pulls it off when they solve the puzzle with seconds to spare, it's legitimately hype. No cash prize required. So yeah, it's scary, it's brilliant, and it's the only game show that might give you a heart attack before the first commercial break. So how did Japan get so good at making game shows that feel like fever dreams? Part of it comes down to culture. Japanese comedy has deep roots in physical humor. There's also a national appreciation for gaman, the idea of enduring hardship with dignity. In Japanese game shows, suffering isn't humiliating, it's heroic. Contestants get launched, soaked, slapped, tricked, and they laugh through it. So do the hosts. Compare that to most Western game shows, which lean towards competition and individualism, strategy, smarts, ego. Japan's shows are communal, messy, and often just plain weird. But here's the thing, they're also tight, they follow structure, the rules are clear, the goals are simple. No one's trying to create high art, they're trying to create unforgettable moments, and they do. Because when someone bites into a doorknob and realizes it's made of chocolate, that sticks with you. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Japan's wildest game shows, hit like, drop your favorite in the comments, and subscribe for more ridiculous TV shows you won't believe actually aired.